You set the goal, you wrote it down, you bought the planner, you watched the motivational video, and for about 10 days, you were unstoppable. And then one morning, the alarm went off and your body didn't move. Not because you forgot the goal, not because you don't care, but because something deeper decided it wasn't safe. And today I'm going to show you the 4 reasons your brain resists change and what actually has to shift before any transformation sticks. A client once told me, Amirah, I don't understand. I start strong every single time and then I collapse. I'm starting to think that there's something wrong with me. He was an operations director, 15 years in leadership, smart, respected, but privately, he just felt broken. Nothing was broken. He was trying to build a new life on top of an old operating system. I'm Dr. Amirah Hall, and for over 2 decades now, I've helped high-performing professionals identify the invisible patterns running their behavior. Patterns rooted in brain chemistry, their nervous system conditioning, and identity. And here's what I can tell you. If change hasn't stuck, it's not because you're lazy. It's because your system is protecting something. Your brain is not a motivation machine. It's a prediction machine. And it is constantly asking, what's familiar? What haven't I survived before? What feels safe? And then it organizes your behavior around that. And research on the brain's default mode network, the system involved in self-identity and internal narrative, shows that when a new behavior conflicts with your self-concept, the brain experiences it as a threat. Think of it like a thermostat. You can set a bold new goal, but if your internal setting is programmed for a smaller version of you, your nervous system will quietly reset back to what's familiar. Not because you lack discipline, but because your system values predictability over possibility. The good news is that thermostats can be reset, but not with force, with alignment. So let's walk through the 4 reasons change doesn't stick. Point number 1, you don't have a discipline problem, you have a chemistry problem. We love blaming ourselves. We tell ourselves, I just need to want it more. But motivation is biochemical. Your brain depends on it. Dopamine for drive and pursuit, serotonin for emotional stability and impulse control, norepinephrine for focus and alertness. And when you're sleep deprived, chronically stressed, overloaded, running on caffeine and adrenaline, those systems get depleted. And when they're depleted, everything feels harder. I worked with this nurse practitioner. She had 2 kids, full-time shift, building a side business, and she thought she just lacked motivation. In reality, her nervous system was flat out exhausted. But we didn't start with affirmations. We started with sleep, nutrient support, stress reduction. And 6 weeks later, she said, I didn't find discipline. I finally have energy. Then 3 months later, she launched her new business. So if your chemistry is off, no mindset trick will save you. And that's not weakness. That's biology. Point number 2, your brain values predictability over success. Now that one stings. Your brain doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about keeping you safe. And safe often means familiar. I worked with a senior marketing executive. Brilliant, on track for VP. But every time she got close to promotion, she'd pull back. She'd miss something important, create tension, shrink. And when we explored deeper, she remembered something her father told her when she was just 9. Don't get too big for your britches, Missy. People like us don't stay on top. And that sentence became her internal ceiling. Her nervous system associated visibility with risk. So success triggered stress. And when she saw that reaction wasn't weakness, that it was actually protection, she could update her story. Now she's a VP. But what she told me mattered more. I stopped flinching when things went well. Until you update your story, your nervous system believes your behavior will protect the old one. Point number 3, willpower is temporary. Systems win. You do great all day long. Then at night, you eat the thing. You scroll. You skip the workout. And you think, what's wrong with me? Nothing. Willpower relies heavily on the prefrontal cortex energy that depletes with stress and decision fatigue. And the more decisions you make during the day, the less regulation you have by evening. One entrepreneur I worked with said, it's like having 2 different versions of me. It's like I'm two different people. He was running out of cognitive fuel. We stopped relying on willpower. We built systems, fixed the stubborn routine, fewer nightly decisions, protected recovery windows. He didn't become stronger, he became supported, and everything shifted. So, point number 4, you don't have just habits, you have an identity producing them. And here's where we go a little deeper. Habits don't exist in isolation. They live inside identity, and identity isn't just mental. It's stored in your nervous system, unprocessed emotional experiences, especially from childhood create physiological patterns. If at some point visibility meant punishment, if speaking up meant conflict, your nervous system remembers that. Not as a thought, but as a body response. I worked with a school principal who wanted to publicly speak, and every time she'd get close, she'd freeze. And she understood intellectually that she was safe, but her body didn't. In my family, she told me, the loud one got punished. So visibility equaled danger. So we worked not just cognitively, but somatically in regulating her nervous system response tied to visibility. And that shifted her brain, starting making new predictions. Opportunity no longer triggered threat. She's spoken 11 events now, but the most powerful thing she said was, it feels natural now, and I don't have to convince myself. That's identity change, not forcing behavior, becoming someone for whom that behavior feels safe. So next time you slip into an old pattern, ask, is this true or is it just familiar? Is the thought, I always want to quit, a fact? Or is it a prediction based on an outdated identity? Is your evening collapse weakness or a nervous system that's depleted? When you observe instead of judge, your system recalibrates. New pathways form, new defaults emerge. Change becomes sustainable, not forced. Your brain resists change when chemistry is depleted, the old story feels safer, willpower is the only strategy, your nervous system still associates growth with threat. The client who thought he was broken, 6 months later, he exceeded every goal he set. But what he said to me stuck. The goals were never the problem. I was asking an exhausted system to build something new. So you're not broken. You are patterned. And patterns can be updated when chemistry stabilizes, when the story evolves, when identity feels safe. Change stops feeling like effort. It feels inevitable. So if you're listening and you're thinking, okay, but which one of these is actually running my life? I created something for you. It's called the Hidden Patterns Quiz. In just a few minutes, it will show you which system is primarily driving your resistance to change. Is it depleted chemistry or an outdated identity story, decision fatigue and willpower burnout, or a nervous system pattern that still associates growth with threat? Because once you know the pattern, you stop fighting yourself and you start working with your system instead of against it. So the link is in the description. Go ahead and take the quiz. And when you get your result, come back and tell me what showed up for you. I read every single comment. So with all that, I'll look forward to seeing you in next week's video.